I turned 30 not long ago, but I didn't focus all my energy on dating as I was trying to get into my career and finish school. I've used dating apps, but I didn't particularly enjoy them as the girls were never like their personas online, either didn't look like their pictures or we didn't click in person. I've been putting dating aside now to focus on other ambitions like investing aggressively and traveling, but I worry at this stage in my life it's going to be very hard to find a decent connection. I don't want to rush it, but at the same time, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to settle because I'm too old and lonely. Story 1. Met my wife on Bumble at 44. My 30s were a blast and the best dating years with some actual spending cash. I liked online dating, but would usually text a while to get a sense of a person before committing time to a date. It worked out for me. My wife and 2 kids now is awesome. Story 2. I did not meet the love of my life until I was 33. I am now going on 37, and we are still going strong. It is not the age, it's the attitude. If you are in shape, take care of yourself, and are not overly socially awkward, you should not have a problem. I think the only real problem you will have is finding a woman your age who does not have kids and an ex-partner. Story 3. I'm 28, and it's absolutely miserable when I talk to women even a couple of years younger than me. The ones slightly older have their stuff figured out, and out of the 4 women I talked to at a bar, the only one that said, "You're cute, but too young for me," was the 34-year-old. The ones in their mid to late 20s gave me their indecisive back and forth responses. "I'm getting over him. We're on and off. I'm too depressed to date," while having a guy she's sleeping with all the time. And frankly, I don't blame them. None of my peers have made up their minds either, except for the few that have had high school or college sweethearts. Reading some of these comments is filling me with hope, honestly. I'm just going to put this dating thing on hold and focus on myself. Story 4. Offbeat psychotic unique political, considered jellyfish voiceless school aromatic door. Story 5. Piece of cake, mate. Women in their 30s aren't as stuck up and picky, they usually like a good old chat. Your chances are up, in my opinion. If you give it a fair chance, you'll be all right. Story 6. 30s is easier for me. My biggest struggle is taking time to go out and meet people. My 20s would have been easier, though, if I had the level of game that I do now because I had more time to go out back then. Story 7. Most importantly, stop overthinking it. Put yourself in social situations. See a girl you like? Walk over and introduce yourself. Don't know what to do from there? Practice makes perfect. Reality? This is the easiest it's ever going to be. Or so I hear. Story 8. It is both easier and harder. I'm 34 this year and have had 3 major long-term relationships in my life. 1 for 10 years and 2 for 2 years each. It is easier because I am a better person. I have done a lot of work on myself emotionally and physically. My mental state is the best it has ever been, and so is my body. I am conventionally attractive, which helps as well. I have a really strong set of requirements for a future partner. I understand the difference between traits I need and traits I want, and it's easy to identify those in potential partners. It is hard for all the same reasons. I'm just not willing to settle for close enough. I understand my value and what I value. Story 9. I think the better question is how much harder it is to date in 2024 than it was previously. Have you seen the dating sites, the dating scene, and the dating realities of now? Back then, you met up at a coffee shop or restaurant, spent some time together, went home, and made a date for another time to get to know more about them. And this was courtship and dating. Now, you're interested in multiple people all at the same time, multiple dates, getting to know you. Some people just want to hook up once or twice or be a casual partner. It is very different from how we grew up. Story 10. Dating is a skill. As with all skills, you get better with experience, so in reality, age has nothing to do with it. I am over 60, and my game is as sharp as ever, but the target audience is constantly changing. Confidence and class have no age limit. Story 11. I'd say not at all. Open yourself up to the world. Love yourself, love somebody. It should feel good and natural. Don't force anything, and don't run with things that consistently don't feel right. Story 12. Harder not because of the age, but because we live in a world of indulgence. sex, social media, scrolling, drugs, pornography, cheap dopamine thrills, swiping away on applications looking for that next better option. People don't know how to form meaningful connections nowadays. It's always about the next dopamine hit. Story 13. I do not think it is harder. People tend to have less time because of work and other commitments, but they also tend to know exactly what they want, and there are far fewer games. Story 14. Found it much easier in my 30s, almost 35 now. The flip side, the older I get, the less patience I have for games. I've been through toxic relationships in the past and value my peace, and it seems like what I consider toxic is just normal behavior to a lot of women. As they say, the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. Now I have my own place, am in decent shape, have a high-paying job, a nice car, and travel the world. They would need to be something special to compromise on that. It's honestly easier to stay single. I'm happy to be the cool uncle to my nieces. I'll spoil them now and then leave all my stuff to them in my will. Story 15. Mildly harder but not a serious obstacle as long as your career or life progress matches your age. Guys who are older and have unappealing jobs or appear to be going nowhere are definitely a turnoff. But if you are accomplished and going places, then age can even be an asset because it makes you look more stable and mature compared to younger men. Story 16. It actually gets better, bro, and it also gets easier. You just need to be clear on whether it is a casual thing or a serious one. Do not mix those up. Story 17. It's only easier if you're good looking because you're able to get a variety of options and choices in relationships, from casual hookups to marriage. The real issue is the number of run-through, damaged individuals, women, out there in their 30s who are jaded, bitter, and resentful of men due to their inability to secure a commitment from one of the many immature men they believe they could change. Women in their 20s are often carefree about casual encounters with attractive men, who benefit from the situation as they receive intimacy without having to define the relationship, plan romantic weekends, or handle finances like a real couple does. The women left in their 30s often have an ex or a child in the picture, which makes them challenging partners to get involved with. The women who are genuinely single, they are urgently seeking marriage and children but will test men and make them wait a long time before becoming intimate. Story 18. I found it to be easier. I was established in my career, had more disposable income, made it through my 20s without a kid, and found myself having to work a lot less to get attention from women. Where it gets a little murky is finding a woman who didn't have any kids, but it is still very possible. Story 19. I found it way easier to get casual partners or one-night stands. Finding a woman who wanted a relationship was difficult. Also, you are going to find that most women your age have kids, and that could be a turnoff for you. Story 20. I think dating is much easier now than in my 20s. I'm in better shape and far more confident than I ever was in my 20s. And that's not even factoring in my income. As long as you're in decent shape, take care of your appearance, make an actual effort to go out and meet women, and aren't socially awkward, I think you'll do fine. Dating, like anything else, is a skill and it comes with practice. Don't think about it too hard and you'll be good to go. Story 21. For men, you are more established, physically fit, have enough experience in life, and have acquired resources. Therefore, you can afford to raise your standards. It's easier because now you can ask for more because you bring more. Story 22. It's definitely different as women throughout their 20s are more laid back and carefree. In their 30s, they have a lot more baggage from relationships or flings that went sour. They hold resentment but also a more intense need to bond and establish a connection, often out of desperation. We then end up footing the bill and dealing with their insecurities, baggage, and declining physical appearance, which causes further resentments and insecurities. Story 23. Much easier. I have a lot more women interested in me making over $500,000 a year as a physician at 32 than as a pre-med living on $1,000 a month at 22. And that's while married. Story 24. Depends on what you find challenging about dating. Single women in their 30s should have lower standards but will most likely also have more baggage. I always say there is a reason people are single at that age, and it's usually something that poses a challenge in relationships. It could be children, lack of social experience due to putting all their time into school, or less youthfulness, which might lead to more negativity. Story 25. I don't know for men, but during my 30s, I was scraping the bottom of the gene pool. Now I'm older and all the good people are divorced, so there are more choices. But I also noticed it varies a lot depending on where you live. Story 26. My last girlfriend and I started dating when I was 26. We broke up when I was 32, and now I'm 37, and I don't see anyone new entering my life anytime soon. Obviously, some people have better luck, but not me. Story 27. I dated previously and started looking for a wife in earnest at that age. My career having started gave me some free time, confidence, and a little coin, which helped. I skipped the apps and just focused on saying hello to everyone and eventually met someone I really made a connection with and always wanted to spend time with. Met at 31, married at 36, now 46 and have 2 kids. Only thing I do differently is start having kids sooner. Good luck. Story 28. Honestly, still 100% viable. But realize the longer you do end up waiting, the fewer good options will be out there. As you get older, the truly good ones get married and stay married typically. Story 29. Did not meet someone until 39, but dating in general got easier as I got older. I was more patient, more accepting, more understanding, and definitely more laid back. Story 30. It's mixed, but I think it's easier overall. Less nonsense. At the same time, you can kind of tell why they are also dating in their 30s. No, I am not the pinnacle of datability either. The irony is not lost on me. Story 31. I have a lot of guy friends who are just starting to settle down between the ages of 33 to 40. Your ideal goal is to find a girl who is 27 to 33. After that, you start encountering damaged goods. Story 32. I found it incredibly easy, but I also spent a lot of my 20s actively dating and working on ways I could be both more fulfilled and also more appealing to women. I'm not sure how much of my experience is thanks to my 30s making dating easier, or how much of it was impacted by what I worked on in my 20s. Story 33. It's easier. It's like going from freshman to senior in high school. You get to date women your age and younger, whereas in your 20s that was a riskier proposition in terms of going too young or immature. Also, women in their 30s start to get more eager to settle down. So, if that's what you're dating for. Story 34. I'm 32. I once met with a 19-year-old, and the gap was too big. The bigger goal is to find a woman aged 25 to 30 without kids or other red flag problems. Story 35. It only becomes nearly impossible for guys who are approaching 40. You're good until shortly after you turn 35. And then things go downhill exponentially for every year after 35. Story 36. I dated all the time in my 20s, usually a date or two every week. Since turning 30, I have gone on 0 dates. Now, at 38, I can barely remember dating. Story 37. It only becomes nearly impossible for guys who are approaching 40. You're good until shortly after you turn 35. Then things go downhill exponentially for every year after 35. Story 38. One thing. If you are not finding success on the dating apps, you can either complain about how they are not good or learn to play the game. They can be very fruitful if you use them correctly. Check out Reddit Seduction. There is a lot of great information on how to improve yourself and your dating profile. Story 39. My 30s were the easiest. I am 46 now, and if I were ever to be single, I would be screwed because of what I would specifically be looking for and what I look like and how I live my life. Story 40. Honestly easier, most women know what they are looking for in a relationship in their 30s and communicate so much better. It was a breath of fresh air when I first started dating my girlfriend. Story 41. For me, dating got easier. I'm more attractive than I've ever been, and I have so many options now. I'm having a hard time settling down with one woman. I've just hit my stride, and women are wanting to lock me down in a relationship. I'm not a player, but I've never had so many options. It's very difficult for me. I'm 30, by the way. Story 42. It's much easier for 35-year-old men. All the women who want kids and haven't had them yet are ready to get married next week. I have all the things my 25-year-old self wanted. That attracted 25-year-old women to choose me on dating apps. I would go on dates and flat out say, I'm a 6 foot 1 inch, $145,000 income man who wants marriage and kids. What is your plan to keep me? If a woman got offended, I could just pay the bill and leave. The fiancée gave me a resume and told me her desire for the future, and after 5 to 6 months, I put a ring on it. Story 43. My 30s were the best time of my life. I was finally making real money and wasn't quite old yet. I was in the best shape of my life and didn't get zits anymore. Story 44. It's easy when you have your life together and take care of your health. Physically in shape. You just sift through the nonsense, but you have way more options than when you were in your 20s. Story 45. I feel like it was much easier than in my teens and up to my mid-20s. Men and women are so insecure and susceptible to projection when we're that young. Once we're in our late 20s, we start to be very straightforward with what we want and more open to vulnerability and understanding. By then, you've been through enough bad relationships to recognize what a good one looks like. You'll know more of your own self-worth by then, hopefully as well, and what you're willing and not willing to compromise on. Story 46. I've always met the people I dated organically. You have a better idea if they are being genuine, and if I like them enough to date them, it's genuine on my end also. I just don't have much faith with the new day and age. Thinking and doing is so cold, selfish, promiscuous, and, well, people just aren't genuine or looking at others genuinely. They look for them to fit in their box and check a list. Shaking my head, sad really. Story 47. I got married at 26 and didn't have much luck dating until I met my first wife. Maybe that's why I ignored the red flags. I got divorced at 31 and had a much better time dating. I started working out a lot when I turned 29, so I had gotten bigger. I also ate a lot of junk food to deal with the divorce, and so I was fatter. So that's a wash, I guess. I felt like I grew into my looks, and I was more confident. I didn't really care if a girl turned me down. I was using a dating site that was specialized for a religious group, so I had that in my favor. Women outnumber men in any religion, and at that age, they want to get married pretty badly. I got messages from girls aged 19 to older than me, so you have the advantage of having a wide range of ages to date, although I would say to stay away from ones that are a lot younger. They aren't very mature, and if they're going after someone much older, then there's a good chance they have some issues. Men's looks don't really age quickly, especially if you stay in shape. We tend to be more confident and have a better career. So, basically, you're in kind of a sweet spot for dating. I'm about to hit my 10-year anniversary with my wife, and I still get messages on Instagram from girls that I have to turn down. So that sweet spot lasts for a while.